We're here for another day. This is going to be the start of clearing up this entire garage. As you can see, a few stuff back here that's just sitting here for the most part, and a lot of this stuff is going to be cleared up. These two was just pretty much like my scrap pile, so I'm not going to mess with that. There's a lot of stuff in here that's going to be getting chucked in the car. Some stuff inside this box, this entire corner. But today we're going to be working on the engine bay, and the first thing we're going to do is start putting some parts onto the engine. Let me show you what we're going to be putting in. So this is the turbo oil drain fitting. This is going to be for the turbo. So we're going to be putting this in right now. So oil fitting is on, not going anywhere. I'm going to put some tape and cover up the hole so no dust or debris can get inside of it. Next up is the manifold, not the complete manifold, just the lower. Just so that when I take it to the shop, you don't have to worry about turning off the top and the bottom in order to get access to something. Plus, I only need bottom one on. When they mount the turbo manifold, they can check the clearancing between that and the intake. Don't need the upper manifold for it. This time, instead of just doing a mock fit for it, now I actually have a gasket. So once I put this on, there's a good chance I won't be taking this back off until I have to, pull the motor back out again. Gaskets are right here. This is intake, this lower intake manifold, and the exhaust gaskets. Don't need the exhaust gaskets right now because we're not putting in the turbo manifold just yet. Just the intake. I would say that these gaskets are expensive. Just one of these gaskets are like 90 to like 100 bucks a pop. But the intake manifold, these were pretty cheap. I think they were like 40 bucks. Intake manifold back on with new hardware. I did have to put the old studs, at least two old studs, back in. Doesn't have too much thread, but I was able to get a good amount on both sides. But this is good now. It's rock solid, it's not gonna move anywhere. The gasket's on there. Next up, show you something else that I bought. Keep in mind, a lot of the things that I'm going to show you, had these for a couple years. The intake manifold, oil block off plates from the front and the back. Now that's something I was bought a few years ago. Now I'm going to show you something that I am quite proud of getting at the time that I got it, because they didn't make them anymore. I bought this during COVID. They shut down business because of COVID, and I'm hoping that this fits with the whole engine layout. Next part is this Password JDM strut bar. I really don't think this is going to add anything performance, at least reinforcement of the chassis, mainly because the S2000 is pretty good when it comes to chassis rigidity and stability. But it looks super cool, and I really love the paint. There is some imperfections inside of it, like this has like a wear mark, and the underside does too. I do plan on getting this repainted the exact same color, which is like a, looks like an OD green. But yeah, I'm gonna install this right now, and I don't think this will be in the way when things are getting worked on at the shop. So what I need to do in order to install this strut bar is I need to remove the bolts from the coilovers. So I need to support the wheels on both sides. Luckily I still have my rollers over here, so I'm gonna put this underneath the car and prop up the car a little bit more. So I sit on that, it's gonna be like that on both sides, and I'll be able to just zap all 4 bolts off and install that strut bar. Bar is on, and it's 32, moves with the car. Besides it being just a look factor, and I just realized this is actually like a height requirement too. Anything that is higher than this runs a chance of you hitting the hood. Next up is this oil pedestal. Now this has a couple good features to it. One of them being is that it has multiple NPT plugs. Now I can only think of one that would make sense for me to have, and that is the oil pressure. So I'm going to end up plugging up 2 out of these 3 and just keep the one because I only need one. Also has fittings for oil cooler lines as well. I got some plugs. I'm going to get some Teflon tape and plug up 2 of these holes and only keep the one. So we have the pedestal on, have my sensor off at an angle. Hopefully this won't get in the way of anything, but this is kind of the best where I can put it. It was either going to be at this angle or like oil filler. Couldn't do this part because I think the washer was in the way. but it's good when I get the oil lines made, or the lines will be coming from here and then going down there and coming back up into the same place. Time for some more parts. Can't forget the oil dipstick. Pretty self-explanatory. Oil level, when I do get oil in the car. Get to throw in this oil filter. It's a good chance I'm going to be using this oil filter on the first startup. Don't plan on taking this off until then. That's cool. I got the logo looking away from it because it is a pretty cheap brand. You know, that's not my brand I'm going to be going with for the rest of the car life, just on the startup. It was like $3. Can't really beat that. So next up is a part that I installed before, but I didn't quite talk about, mainly because I just need it for clearancing, but now I'm going to be able to talk about this a little bit more. Oh, there it is. So up next is the oil filler. I got this about the same time I got the oil pedestal. Now, I like this because it has 3-6 AN fittings. I think it's -6. I know where one of the fittings go to. It will go to my oil catch can, but I don't know where the other two go to. I have to do some research for that when the time comes. I think one of the fittings goes to near the back of the engine where the oil pressure sensor lives at. We're looking like a real car right now. Got the filler mounted. I believe that there's going to be 2 lines that's going to be coming from the filler to the catch can. My idea is going to have these 2 lines getting routed towards this section right here. I'm going to have the catch can and possibly the coolant reservoir in this corner, and the oil lines is going to be behind all that stuff going into be shooting from underneath here. So oil lines is going to be off in one section, and then turbo and all that stuff is going to be all in the other section. This bar, I need to take this off because on this side, or the part of the chassis is kind of like rubbing, not allowing one of the bolts to sit flush. In order for me to take care of that, I need to remove the entire bar and take an angle grinder and shave off the part that's coming into contact with, but I can't see it unless I take the bar off. Plate comes off. This actually is a thread right here. So I'm going to grind where my finger is at away. I'm going to grind that part so it won't have any threads in it, and maybe this one as well. And then that should fix those bolts not going in. I ended up losing my Allen key within the bumper, so I ended up taking this off. But once I finish this up, I'm gonna see if I can knock back these brackets, because this is something else I wanted to do too, but I'm gonna work on this first before I get started on that. Got the one side cut that matched the other side, and then also kind of flattened out where this nut was welded onto. And now I'm gonna put this back together, and then I'm gonna start working on these brackets. Hopefully I can just bend these into place. I don't want to make new brackets. It's not that it's hard, it's just that it's kind of time consuming, and I think I did a good job making these brackets to begin with. Alright, so the bar is back on for the most part, but I am gonna get my mallet, which is right here. Unbolt all this stuff and then start just banging this in to get it inside the splitter bracket. I'm gonna do that for both sides. After some bending, this is what I got. This will not work at all. The bends are too bad, and it's just not as stable anymore. This side haven't touched, thankfully. So I'm gonna end up getting some more metal and just make this entire thing out of one piece, and just still have like this same bend, and then have it go forward and just have it like bend back, because the radiator is off at an angle. So yeah, make it into one solid piece, maybe 2. I'll take care of this another day. I don't have the metal on me. So last thing that I can think of to do, since I don't have the factory hood latch on my car anymore, and this is just going to be just a cooling plate, I'm going to cut off the hood latch, get some hood locking pins just like I have on this one, but I got some better ones at home. Actually, I got some better ones here. Make the cooling plate and then drill some holes for it. I can get the other hood latches on instead of the ones I have right now. So I got quite a few things back here that needs to be installed, especially this clutter of just parts in the corner. Don't have to take care of that. I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff is going to be going inside the next video. I don't know for sure, but that's the end of the video. I'll see you guys next time.